I got the episode number right. I'm going to get the person right. I'm going to do it correctly.
You haven't started talking yet. How do you know you got it right?
Yeah, you don't know. You might get it really wrong now. You're going to get all up in your head about it.
No, you're going to get it wrong for sure.
I'm
going to say
because you can overthink
286.
it.
Think of 286.
Stop.
While you're saying 285.
Think of 286, and you're joined by Jason and John.
Hello and welcome to Connected episode 285. It is made possible this week by our sponsors, Pingdom, Direct Mail, and Indeed. My name is Stephen Hackett, and I am joined by Mr. Myke Hurley.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. You did it.
Thank you.
Well, this far. You got this far.
And we're joined by Federico Vitici.
Yeah, I'm locked inside. I'm at home. Have been at home for a few days.
Well, actually,
not
you're not in self-quarantine, are you? You're in full-on. You're not allowed to leave your house. The government said so. Yeah,
yeah.
It's not really self-imposed at that point, is it?
Well, I was before the Italian government told us that the entire country was on lockdown. My girlfriend and I were already trying to stay at home as much as possible, like as a precaution. But now it's official, so we have to. We can go out for like the daily essentials, like if you need to go buy groceries, or if you need to go to work, which we don't because we work from home, or if you have an emergency. You can walk the dog outside, but it's, short walk and try to avoid people, basically, and everything else is pretty much forbidden right now. So,
are people like avoiding each other? Like, do people cross the street and stuff like that?
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell.
That's good, though. That's what you want, right? That's what you want.
We were able to go to the grocery store yesterday, and obviously everybody was wearing face masks, which we tried to buy, but basically every pharmacy or online store is sold out at the moment.
It doesn't help you, right? You know that, right? Like, well, that's the thinking. It's for people who are sick. It's not for people that are healthy.
Sort of peer pressure situation, right?
I would, in your situation, I would try and buy one too, right? But like, I don't think it's worth panicking if you can't. But like, if everyone around you is wearing one,
exactly,
you would feel like you were the sick person if you...
Exactly. So yesterday I went to the grocery store and everybody was wearing them, both the staff and the customers, and I was not, because I don't have one, and I felt so out of place. It was like this eerie situation of everybody wearing face masks and I wasn't. And so I was like, nope, the next time I go, I gotta make sure that I have one, because I felt so out of place.
Do you have anything at home that you could like fashion into one, like so you could, it looks like you're pretending?
We thought of like using a scarf or something, but I'm not sure. So
yeah.
In any case, we're at home and we're fine. We're just, lots of time to clean the house and reorganize my shortcuts or play video games, get some writing done, got plenty of time here. So
I would like to, at this point, make my official petition to Nintendo to release the Animal Crossing early. Animal Crossing is due out on the 20th. They should release it now so we can all play it, and then our quarantine is fine.
Right.
That's just my official petition at this stage.
I agree with that. Steven, what do you think of the Animal Crossing?
I'm so pumped.
Yeah. What are you going to do first in Animal Crossing?
Well, I think it's probably going to be peaceful because you guys will be busy and I won't have any text messages to answer. So I'm going to enjoy some relaxing time.
No, but when you get Animal Crossing,
yes,
because you know all about it, what will be the first thing that you do in Animal Crossing?
Well, honestly, I'm probably just going to try to catch them all.
Right, okay, yeah.
All the bugs, because you can catch bugs like butterflies and fish.
Well, make sure you open a radar, because that's the only way you can report the bugs.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That is not even a dad joke anymore. That's just a sad nerd joke.
It's a Steven joke. StevensJokes.com.
No, I'm not buying any more domains.
.com.
.com. Federico, I think I told you this. My mom called me to check on you. So
that's so sweet.
You have lots of people concerned, and we're glad that you're okay, and we hope that it turns around. I was telling my wife the other night that if it comes to that here, where people have to stay at home and like work from home, that's really no difference for me. Everyone I know will be like, quote, working from home, and I'll just be out here making podcast, keeping the podcast empire running.
It's a great time to have signed a lease on a studio space.
Oh my.
Just perfect time to have done that, just when everyone's supposed to stay at home. So It's all going great
So sorry.
over here.
Well, look, let's cheer everybody up and talk about the HomePod.
Oh, is that your definition of cheering everybody up? Okay.
Pandemic or the HomePod? Like, the HomePod's not great, but it's better than a pandemic. Can we agree on that?
Sure. Yes, I'll go with that.
So we've been speaking about use of HomePod and Siri and voice assistants in multilingual homes. And we had this really interesting email from Eric who wrote in saying that they live in Belgium, where Dutch and French are both spoken, but they speak English at work and they use English Eric uses English on all of their devices. And I think he is confirming what we sort of thought is that he says English Siri seems to be triggered by French easily, thinking that maybe, Siri in different languages is tuned for different things and it doesn't tune out
Yeah.
the English or the French phrase if it's set in another language. So I think is what we were saying, but it's just interesting that it seems to be an issue other places as well.
It's good to get more anecdotal evidence of this thing. But I think that is it, right? It is, while Siri is accidentally triggered a lot everywhere, it may have been particularly worse for Federico because it couldn't understand, it was getting triggered by words it wasn't trying to filter out, I guess.
But also, lots of listeners wrote in, they sent me messages and tweets saying that, as I mentioned last week, also, their Siri was being accidentally triggered by a dog's name or a partner name at home. So the anecdotal evidence is sort of mounting up over here, especially with dog names. So that's a really fascinating data point. It's really surprising to me that Apple got this wrong. We live in a multilingual world, and I know that maybe the vast majority of Americans don't speak multiple languages, but in Europe, lots of people do. And I think that's...
The argument that could be made was well, they didn't release it in Italy. But that's then also saying that there aren't people in America that speak Italian at home.
Right. It's just...
Right?
It seems... I don't know. But it seems to be that sort of American bias that we've mentioned many times on the show before. It's not like the rest of the world is like California, where most people only speak English. A lot of people speak multiple languages at home and maybe watch TV shows in different languages that is not English. So it's very surprising to me, honestly. The more I get tweets from people and messages from people about this, I'm really surprised. Also, it's the 1 week update that Siri has been off on our HomePods.
Oh, yeah.
We're fine. So very famously, Sylvia listened to the episode last week. She was very pleased. She mentioned...
Finally, a good episode, I think, was her tweet. Come on, Sylvia. Throw us a bone here. There must have been at least one good one.
No, she will not. She will not throw any bone.
No. No? Okay.
It's been a week, and we are very happy. No more accidental activations here.
Mm-hmm.
We've been using the HomePods as music speakers. It's fine. We haven't really noticed the absence of Siri. I've been using it on my phone, and it's okay.
I do want to add before we move on that Eric is using the HomePod in Belgium, and it doesn't seem to be sold there. So it's an imported HomePod like yours is. And I want to hear from somebody who, maybe lives in a supported country. Maybe that's, I don't know. I feel like it's just that Siri's bad. It doesn't really matter if it's imported or not. But if you have this issue, please let us know. Real quick, before we leave follow-up, I just want to point people to stevensmerch.com.
.com.
It's 1 week to go, and those T-shirts will be gone forever. 7 days left from this recording. So if you're listening to the next episode, you've already missed the window. Also, you're in the future, so congratulations for making it another week. But I'd love if people go check that out. All right, Myke, I had a very strange morning. I was, living my life, doing my things, and suddenly I get a bunch of emails that someone in London is logging into a bunch of Relay FM Twitter accounts. I assume it was you, and that we haven't been hacked. I just am now asking you about this, so
who could know?
I guess if we've been taken over, it's too late. What's going on, buddy?
So I was woken up this morning with no alarm. My alarm didn't go off this morning because my iPhone was just stuck on the Apple logo screen.
Oh, no.
That was just my phone this morning. I knew what to do then, right? You reset the phone, you do the button thing, the up, down, hold, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did that 3 times, did not work. It would not come back to life. Like, I would even watch the phone like reboot, like it would have the Apple logo there for a while, and then it would redo it again, right? Like the screen would go black for a second. So it was like trying to bring itself back to life. Side note, it's crazy that Apple doesn't have the top Google search result for resetting iPhones.
Is it iMore?
It's everyone else except them, right? Like, depending on the words that you use, sometimes they're like at the bottom of the first page. So that just seems wild to me that they haven't worked that out somehow. But so time for recovery mode was my morning.
Oh no!
So I plugged my iPhone into my Mac. iTunes got stuck downloading an iOS update. It said 0 seconds remaining for a while, so then I had to quit iTunes. As soon as I quit iTunes, the update that iTunes needed to do then completed, which was weird. Although it jumped to 2 minutes before completing and then downloaded. I plugged it in and it said, like, try and do an update. I tried to do the update and I was just given the fun error of your iPhone cannot be updated. You must restore to factory settings. So I did the restore, back to the Apple logo, waited for 20 minutes, nothing happened. My Mac wasn't doing anything, nothing was happening. So I restored again. Then I'd never heard of activation lock before, but that's a clever feature where if you have activation lock on, then somebody else can't just set up your iPhone. It needs your iCloud information. So that's cool, I guess. So yeah, I did two restores, then the phone came to life. I didn't have another iPhone to do the quick setup feature because the iPhone was my iPhone. So I used my iPad. You know, you do the quick, like when you use the camera and it has that little Apple Watch like orb thing, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. It was funny because it then turned assistive touch on my iPhone because I have it on my iPad. I got the option to do an iCloud restore. So I did that, but I still had to set everything up, right? So Apple Pay, Face ID, all that stuff. And then iCloud restore began, and it's been restoring all day. And I hate it because I'm not prepared for this, right? Like, just an iCloud restore in your life is frustrating when it's not new phone time because you're not ready for it. So, like, I have apps that have lost their data. I have apps that had downloaded stuff that needs to be re-downloaded. Everything's getting messed up. I have to log back into everything, back into 1Password, back into all my email accounts, back into my calendar. Like, I have to log back into everything. And what I hate most about all this kind of stuff is that you don't realize what's gone wrong on your phone until you encounter it when you're trying to use it. And I hate stuff like, why does Apple Music not just re-download my music? Why do I have to manually re-download music again?
Yeah.
Anyway, I hate it. I'm now having to reset preferences for apps because now apps are doing things I don't want them to do.
Right.
And I have no idea why this happened because I don't have... I do manual updates. Like, I don't know why this happened. So that was my morning. My phone blew up.
And you don't know why.
That's the worst part.
No, I have no idea. I absolutely no idea. The only thing that I knew was going on was that my Apple Watch was scheduled for an update. But that shouldn't basically, I know everybody loves this, brick my phone. The thing is, like, I know this isn't like the world's biggest problem or whatever, but if I was catching a flight today, right? Like, I just wouldn't have woke up.
What you need is a little baby face mask for your phone.
To stop the bugs? Stop the viruses? Yeah, you're probably right. But anyway, I don't really have anything to say other than, one, I hated that this happened, and two, I really wished iCloud Restore was better.
Yeah, that's really upsetting because now, like, part of you is never going to trust that phone again.
No. I mean, like, at the moment, I don't trust it because, like, I know stuff's not signed in properly, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, what data that I need to have access to will I not have access to because I wasn't thinking about it, you know?
Well, even beyond that, like, is it going to randomly do this again? Like,
exactly. Like, so now the next time I need to, I've like, oh, you must be up at this time or something terrible's going to happen. Like, I'm going to have this in the back of my head now.
Yeah.
Which I'm so excited about. All my banking apps, I had to go sign back into all of those, which is like the worst thing in the world, right? Like, re-signing back into banking apps.
It's terrible because they ask you for like a PIN code and all that sort of like, yeah, that's...
Which are usually generated by your previous device. Well, but I don't have one. It's this one. It was a fun and unexpected morning for me.
That is terrible, is my conclusion. Yes.
Yep. I have nothing to say on it except I just hated it and I just had to share it somewhere, so I told you.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
We have a lot to get into this week. The rumor wars are heating up, but we're going to take a break and talk about our first sponsor. This episode of Connected is brought to you by Pingdom from SolarWinds. Today's internet users expect a fast web experience. No matter how good your content may be or how effective your marketing is, people are going to bounce if your website is loading too slowly. With real user monitoring from Pingdom, you can discover how website performance issues are affecting your visitors' experiences, so you can take action before your business is impacted. How your visitors experience your website differs depending on the browser, device, and platform they use. So you want to identify how visitors are experiencing your site so you can make informed optimizations and deliver great performance to those who matter most. Real user monitoring is an event-based solution, so it's built to scale, meaning you can monitor millions of page views without compromising the fidelity of your historical data or breaking the bank in the process. Get live visitor insights today with real user monitoring from Pingdom. Go to pingdom.com/relayfm right now for a 14-day free trial with no credit card required. When you sign up, use the code CONNECTED at checkout to get an awesome 30% off your first invoice. That's pingdom.com/relayfm. Our thanks to Pingdom from SolarWinds for the support of the show and Relay FM. Right, so like we said, it is rumor war. 9 to 5 Mac and Mac rumors have people in the field.
Battling it out.
They've got MacBooks. They're blogging. They're hitting each other with iPads. It's very messy. Mm-hmm. It seems that there is some, at least one early version of iOS 14 floating around, somehow obtained a build from December. There's a lot of this stuff. We can't possibly cover all of it today in depth. We're going to talk about kind of what's been going on the last couple of days, and there's some other topics that we're going to get to more in coming episodes. I think we all have a lot to say, for instance, about cursor support on iPadOS. We will get to that, just not today. We're going to kind of deal with what's the newest stuff as we're recording this on March 11th.
Yeah, because there's probably potentially still more to come, right? I think first off, let's talk about iMessage.
Okay.
So this is a super interesting one. This one came from Mac Rumors. Effectively, it seems like, again, we will just take it presumed that all of this stuff is coming to iOS 14, so we don't have to put presupposing on every single thing, right? It's like maybe if such and such, just assume we are aware that it might not ship. But for the time being, we will assume that all of this is going to be in iOS 14. So it looks like Apple is trying to turn iMessage groups into a much more useful tool, which is great. And this is all stuff that I have wanted for iMessage groups. So at mentions and group threads, which would be great. So I could be like at Federico and he would get a notification, which would mean that they may be beefing up the way that notifications or do not disturb works for group threads and iMessage, because then it might be more Slack-like in that you could say, only alert me to this thread if my name is mentioned, which would be great. I would love that. While you're at it, Apple, give me a way to change the way that I'm alerted for when people use TalkBack stuff. Don't need push notifications for every thumb up on a message. Don't need them. Don't need that. It's not necessary. But so anyway, the ability to retract messages with UI showing that a message has been retracted. This is very interesting. Not sure why particularly they would add this, but guess it's a cool feature to have. Typing indicators inside of group threads, I would like this a lot. So you get this at the moment, right, where you get the bouncing 3 dots of doom, right, when you're waiting for a message to come in.
Oh, it's the worst when then they go away.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Oh no, they're rethinking it.
This is a big thing for the kids, Stephen. They this is like a big thing.
Oh, I know. I hang out with youth.
Oh, do you?
I see them sometimes.
Okay, that's good.
The mall.
So this would be, I guess, maybe Steven's icon will pop up and there will be a typing indicator next to it. Maybe they will have several people are typing, which is one of my favorite Slack things, by the way. Several people are typing. It's just it's very good. I think that's the name of their company blog as well.
It is.
Also very clever. Yeah. And then this is a weird one. Enhancements to the /me command. Stephen, as the resident old man, could you explain what that is to the youth who are listening?
Yes. So if you're in messages on the Mac and you type /me with no space and then type creates notifications for Myke, then it goes in the thread as, Stephen Hackett creates notifications for Myke.
You just did that.
I did. And it shows up in our group thread with Federico and John. And it's not like I sent the message. It's kind of in line with the time. It's a holdover, and I want to talk about this in a second, from the iChat days, but it never made it to the iOS versions of messages. So you can do this on the Mac, but you can't send them from iOS.
So I think that's kind of it from the report, but this is all stuff that I think all of us would love to see. Making group threads more powerful and useful would be great. I would greatly love that, because I have a couple of threads that I use every single day, and they can get a bit messy.
Yeah, I mean, these features are like the absolute basics to make sure that iMessage can live on the same playing field as WhatsApp or Telegram or Messenger. All these features, like the very basics for any modern group conversation. And the fact that iMessage, like, it got apps and stickers and a bunch of enhancements, like the new search, for example, in iMessage, that lets you find like all images and links and documents. That's amazing, and I use it like very frequently. But in terms of like the actual transcript, like the actual conversation and controls around messages, it leaves a lot to be desired still, especially when you compare it. Like, I'm on a bunch of WhatsApp groups, and the kinds of controls that you get, like the ability to delete messages and to have a thing that says this message was deleted, like those are like the very basics. And like notification settings, mute settings, it needs to offer more, because competing apps are doing more. People are flocking to those messaging apps. And I don't think it's something that Apple wants. I think Apple, especially because iMessage is so popular with the kids, I think they need to make sure that those kids and eventually when they grow up, they keep using iMessage, because it's more secure, because Apple has control and all,
Especially in a world where there may be new options for new default apps.
Right.
It might be that Apple might feel like, and I hope they would, that they have to actually compete more, that they don't just get to be the messaging app because they are the built-in messaging app. That if people could then choose, say, WhatsApp to be their default messaging app or whatever, that they might have to do a little bit more, to actually beef up the application.
That's a very good point. Yes, absolutely.
Like, I expect to see that kind of thing, like maybe not so much in Messenger, but in a lot of other apps over time. I expect to see that Apple will do more feature parity than they've done before, because they want people to continue using their applications, but there will be less of a like a requirement to do so. Like, people won't have to anymore, and I think that will make a change.
Looking at you, Mail team.
I mean, Mail is the actual real poster child for this, right? It's like, people like Mail because of it's built into the system, it runs well, it looks nice and stuff, but it is incredibly underpowered compared to other types of mail applications. And whether you're an email purist like Casey lists or not, it's still something that people want to see some more of these features coming in.
I did want to talk about Messages routes just for a second, because even now, before they add anything else to it, there are a bunch of features of iMessage that aren't on the Mac, that are just on iOS and iPadOS. Mostly it's silly stuff like the effects and that sort of thing. But it really points out, like, Messages on the Mac is like living inside the dead skin of iChat, right? Like, it moved in and kicked AIM out, and now it's reanimated it. It's a very upsetting metaphor.
That is quite the image, Steven.
Kept going with that one. I mean, what you said about, like, it doesn't, like, Messages on the Mac don't have as much as Messages on iOS. It goes both ways, though, because Messages on the Mac you can use with other chat clients, right? So, I mean, it's not a great feature, but it's you can sign into like AIM and stuff, right, on Messages?
No, that's all gone. That's all been gone for a long time.
Well, not on my version of Mac OS.
Well, AIM itself is gone, so you're not signing into anything.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Google Talk or whatever.
Yeah, that's gone now too on
okay.
Yeah,
modern
Myke, you got to
versions
update your Mac, man. It's
I don't want to.
Well, especially...
Still running Snow Leopard over there.
Leave me alone.
And it's time. I mean, Messages is so important to Apple. Like, one thing we haven't really touched on, but it is related to the default apps thing, is iMessage is a huge reason for iPhone lock-in. Right? If a lot of people stay on the iPhone because of iMessage. This is why I think they're never going to bring it to Android. It would only make sense to extend that to the Mac, but so far Messages is just like I said, it's like some sort of zombie inside of iChat controlling its arms with strings. And it would make sense to me if they're going to bring new features to do it all at once. And maybe that means that the Mac app goes Catalyst. And so it really is the same application. Now, that would be a bummer in some ways because the Mac app does do some things like that nice multi-window support. You can address it with AppleScript. It has some cool stuff that maybe we wouldn't get with Catalyst. But I think if they're going to make a big features move with messages, I really hope that we see it across all their platforms and not just the iPhone and iPad.
They would be creating more work for themselves if they didn't. Like, it just feels like at a certain point, it's easier for all of these applications to come together because they're just doubling up the work, surely.
We haven't seen Apple. They've launched some Catalyst apps, but they haven't replaced any apps with Catalyst. I mean, you could kind of argue that podcast is, like, because it's Catalyst and that was a section of iTunes. But music and TV are based on the old iTunes thing. So they haven't really replaced a system app with a Catalyst version. And I would argue that Messages would probably be a pretty good first candidate if all this other work is going on.
PencilKit rumors. So there's PencilKit is the software underlying the Apple Pencil on the iPad. There is...
Oh, it was underlining.
Sure.
It's good. It's like a...
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't mean that, but that's funny. The new feature...
Is it?
Well, the new feature that allows for OCR recognition of handwritten text in text fields. So, in theory, this also came from from Mac Rumors, that you would be able to use an Apple Pencil and just draw something out, and then the system will convert it into text, which you could then send to somebody. It seems like this could be available anywhere that you can use text input, but that there would also be functionality inside of PencilKit for third-party developers to integrate it into an app somehow. That part is a little unclear for me. Like, if you can do it anywhere there's text, why does there also need to be a third-party tool? But maybe that would be for other uses of it. I don't know, but that you'd be able to turn handwriting into text more easily, which would be lovely. That's just like a really interesting feature to add now, but it's something that I have wanted in the past, so I think that would be really great.
I mean, so right now developers can use the PencilKit API to, like, if they want to offer like a drawing screen, and they can just basically use the same annotation UI that you see in Apple Notes or in Markup, for example, with the standard like blank page and the palette of tools and colors at the bottom. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't surprise me if it becomes like a different PencilKit API where a text field can either be typed into with the keyboard or the software keyboard, or if you have a pencil, it automatically does its own OCR thing. Right now, there is pencil OCR support in Notes, but in the sense that when you handwrite in Apple Notes, that handwritten text becomes searchable after a few seconds. Results can be questionable. I think.
Yeah, searchable OCR and I'm taking your handwriting and turning it into text are two very different problems, right?
There are two very different problems. There's some shared tech, of course, under the hood. Like, sure, you still got to recognize the whatever the user just wrote with the pencil. But in one case, you got to make it searchable. In the other, you got to actually insert it as text into a field.
I mean, like, your error rate is different there, right? Like, you can be way less accurate if people are searching text because you've only got to match X percentage of words for somebody to be able to get what they're looking for. But if you are saying that you're going to take handwriting and turn it into text, your error rate has to be way different, like way less.
Stephen,
right? And that's a big thing.
Let me ask you, Stephen, wasn't this a feature of the Newton?
Yep.
Before.
Yeah, I mean, that was the idea of the Newton. You would use handwriting for input, and it would turn your handwriting into text. So it would do all of this stuff. To mixed results, I would point people to my podcast Flashback, episode 1, where we talked about the Newton.
StevensMerch.com.
But also Flashback episode 1.
Oh, sorry.
Listen to it while wearing your new shirt.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Newton. Like, Windows pin-based PC stuff has been around forever. Again, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but this is a thing that's been in the world. Apple's not inventing this.
Right.
But boy, it would be cool to be able to, use your Apple Pencil anywhere there's text and it convert it for you. It's not necessarily for me. I find typing much faster than writing, but I know a lot of people I think would like to use this or just to make things like note-taking more useful down the road. We're like, yeah, I hand wrote this, but now I actually need text out of it to email it to somebody. Like all of that stuff just unlocks when you have a tool like this. And if Apple does it in PencilKit, third-party developers can put it in their own app. So you could see a world where you can use this in GoodNotes or PDF Pen or a bunch of those other types of apps, not just Apple Notes, which I think would be really key for this unlocking sort of a new experience for a lot of people. And now every iPad supports the Pencil, right? Even the Mini? Is that right?
Yes, they all do, yeah.
They all do the latest ones, and most of them support the Apple Pencil 1, of course. The Apple Pencil 2 is still iPad Pro only, but still basically the same stuff, yeah.
I want to get a new iPad mini with flat sides that works with the Apple Pencil too. That's what I want, because that just seems like a fun product.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Why?
I think it would be cool.
Wait, only last week we were talking about a new iPad mini with mini LED.
Yeah, we were.
I know. I think it would be cool, but it's like the Mini is like because it's cheap and at the bottom of the list, I just don't see it getting that anytime super soon.
Maybe in a couple of years.
I want to see it. It doesn't mean I need to see it this year. You know?
It'd be like a super sweet reading device. Like I would totally get one with the flat sides, because like I thought about getting an iPad mini when they were refreshed last year, and then I realized no, it's got, and I think we actually mentioned this on the show. Like I said, no, it's got the old design. I don't want to get an iPad mini. I'm gonna use the 11-inch iPad Pro. Like the basic one, like basic storage, no cellular as my reading device, because like it's got the modern look, and I don't want to use an iPad mini that already looks old. Even if I buy a new iPad mini and it looks already old to me, like that feels like a waste of money. I don't know. So I absolutely agree with Myke. I want to see an iPad mini with the flat sides and the pencil support. Like that would be sweet.
Because I will assume that naturally all of the iPads will get flattened sides to work with the Apple Pencil 2.
I guess eventually.
As the Pro gets an Apple Pencil 3, whatever that would end up being.
Yeah.
But, the Apple Pencil 2 is so much of a better product than the Apple Pencil 1. I can't imagine Apple going any other direction with it into the future. Like, we might be a couple of years away from that being in the rest of the line, but history has shown that Apple will move the iPad Pro features down because it's just on a bit of a delay, like a couple of year delay. But every iPad except the Mini now works with not only the Apple Pencil but also a smart keyboard.
Yeah,
like it's the thing that they will do, but it just takes its time, and which is exactly the same as it's been on laptops and desktops, right? Like you establish a feature, and the feature becomes normal. They come up with new features, so they move the Pro features down the line, right? It's how you advance the technology, right? So I expect it will happen within the next couple of years, but I would be really surprised if the iPad mini still looks as it looks right now if they put that mini LED screen into it. I would just be very surprised about that. But we have other rumors later on which could suggest that Apple won't mind keeping some technology around for a while.
Anything else on PencilKit?
There's another thing that it's doing where it will do automatic filling of shapes. So you could draw a circle and it would automatically fill the circle with a color.
Oh, that'd be cool. All right, let's take our second break. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Direct Mail. If you have a business, you're probably always looking for new ways to build your customer base or build a following. And a super cost-effective way to do that is email. For over 15 years, Direct Mail for Mac has been the go-to email marketing app for businesses, nonprofits, and schools, and other organizations who want to expand their reach and connect with customers. It's designed just for the Mac, so you can get your work done in half the time using all the Mac technologies you've grown to love: drag and drop, keyboard shortcuts, integration with other apps, and more. Direct Mail has eye-catching templates that are infinitely customizable and look great on all devices. They also have helpful customer service staffed by real human beings. There's no chatbots or AI here, just friendly people ready to help at no extra charge. Send your first campaign today with a free download of Direct Mail. Listeners of the show will save 10% off all of the full feature pricing plans over at Direct Mail. Head to directmailmac.com/connected to experience the top-rated email marketing app for the Mac and see how they can help your business grow. That's directmailmac.com/connected. Our thanks to Direct Mail for their support of the show and Relay FM.
We have some 9 to 5 Mac rumors. Well, we've spoken about, I think, everything we got from Mac rumors that we're going to talk about today. The rest are from 9 to 5 Mac, who've been publishing more this week. They kicked it all off. One of them is some changes to the iOS 14 home screen. Believe it or not, that is a thing that seems like it could actually be happening. With the biggest change being a different way to see your apps, with a possibility for listing your applications in maybe alphabetical order. There'll be some sorting options, but this is much more akin to the way that the Android app picker works, or maybe your Apple Watch or something like that.
I've got the watch in that list view. It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. You use it with the list view?
Oh, yeah. I hate the honeycomb deal.
Me too.
Huh, interesting. I still use the honeycomb because I don't really like looking at a list of apps. I prefer looking at the icons myself. But I think the idea of a home screen on iOS and the iPad potentially is interesting for a bunch of reasons. The first one, 9 to 5 Mac mentions that you will be able to have like multiple sorting options and maybe even Siri suggestions. So the combination of, for example, let me see the apps that I use the most, or maybe the apps that are frequently used, and put them at the top of the list, and everything
Or
else.
newly installed.
Newly installed. Like you would be able to like get different visualizations of your apps, and like if you're somebody with a lot of apps installed, like maybe John Voorhees comes to mind. He's got like 600 apps on his phone. You will be able maybe to manage those apps more quickly. Like imagine if you can use like list view and display them by frequently used, and then scroll to the bottom, have a select button, select, and then delete a bunch of apps all at the same time. Like that would be amazing. But also, I was thinking about the iPad and how maybe a list option could be a potential solution for iPad multitasking, like as an application picker because we've been talking about the complexities of the current drag and drop system for using split view and slide over on the iPad. Maybe a list that shows you apps in a more compact view with different sorting criteria, that could be maybe a potential solution.
Isn't that what we basically had, though, in the early days? Like, how would this be different?
Not quite, because in the early days of iOS 9, it wasn't really a list. It was like a column of like this cards, like these tiles.
3 at a time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was in an order that no human being could get their head around.
It was
Yeah.
it was in a weird order of icons, and it wasn't really compact because you could only see 3 at a time, and it wasn't searchable either. Whereas here we're talking about an actual list, so like the information density will go way up, and with multiple sorting options, and I am guessing search like in the mix as well. So that would make it like a fairly basic deal. It's nothing revolutionary. It's a list, but maybe that's what it needs to be. Like it's a basic list of your apps, and you can sort them however you want, and you can find them quickly. Maybe that's what it needs to be.
I mean, I've always used Android phones, but I'm using a little bit more recently. I like that I don't have to organize every single application.
Right.
I have the apps that I want on like my first screen, and then everything else is just in an alphabetical list in the drawer, right? Because like I'm kind of fed up at this point of having to find a place for every application. Like I just want them to be away somewhere, right? Because it's like, and I have to try and break it out of my brain because I search for every app anyway. So why do they need to have places? Because it's kind of like, well, they're allowed to have places, so why shouldn't they have a place? And it's just like I just don't want to do it anymore. So being able to just have one screen and then everything else just in like a drawer, which is the way that the system will do it, that's what I want. Like I know I could put everything else in just one big folder, but I just don't like that. Like I would prefer there to be like just this list of everything, and I open up from the list like that. I think that would be really, really good, and I would be very happy with that, especially if it did do stuff like, hey, what about this one that you just installed, or what about this thing that you use all the time, like at the top. I think that would be really great. I hope for this. Another report is this is very interesting, the ability for applications to be able to change your wallpaper. So there'd be in a kind of a new extension type of like wallpapers that you could download from the App Store. You see these applications a lot, and they're actually typically scam apps, or they're like, hey, check out this wallpaper pack, and like, but you still have to it's just a bunch of images that you save, and then you choose the one that you want. But in theory, this would enable somebody to be able to create an application that would have a pack that you would be able to like, I don't know, have cycle through or choose the one that you want, and it automatically be assigned. But what I was thinking, which I would like, is, you know, to be able to say, either download an app or have a system feature where I point at an album and it cycles through them. Like, I would like my home screen to stay static, but my lock screen to maybe cycle through images that I enjoy, you know? So like every time I pick up my phone is a different image. I think that'd be kind of cute. I think I would like that. So we'll see. I mean, what do you guys think about this?
So if I had to guess, I would say that Apple wants the wallpaper section of settings to become a place that can be extended via third-party apps.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see like a new category of extensions that can be wallpaper extensions. And so you download apps from the App Store as before. They contain an extension. That extension shows up in settings, wallpaper. And there you will be able to browse wallpaper by app. So you will have the default Apple stuff, which according to 9to5Mac will be organized with new categories like flowers and nature, like that kind of stuff. And you will also get third-party apps. So I can imagine like two things come to mind. One, I can imagine that the shortcuts action that we saw last year, the set wallpaper action, this is how it will come back. It was removed during the iOS 13 beta cycle. There's a quite fun backstory there that we'll be able to share someday, but not today. So it disappeared. Maybe this is how it comes back as an actual system feature of iOS 14 that ties into like which wallpaper do you want to set? Like you can choose a folder, you can choose a category, and I can imagine like that action coming back thanks to this new feature. Second, and I guess you guys will laugh at me for mentioning this, but I think this is what, if this is true, right? And if developers can provide their own wallpaper packs for iOS 14 and they actually show up at a system level, this has the potential to do what iMessage stickers and like didn't do. Like
I agree.
The idea, like because you know the deep and open iMessage framework and all that kind of stuff.
Oh my god!
But the idea was that with
deep and open wallpaper framework
with the with the stickers. So the stickers were initially like advertised as like an opportunity for artists and creatives to be able to share something that people could use every day in iMessage conversations. And to an extent, that was true. But you know, the whole system was kind of clunky and it was never updated, and managing sticker packs and iMessage apps was terrible, so it didn't really catch on.
And really, it's just like Bitmoji and nothing else, I think, for most people.
But I think for wallpapers, which is something that people obviously care a lot about, that is something so personal, like it changes the whole look of your device and your home screen, your lock screen. I think this has the potential to do even more than iMessage stickers. So I can imagine like if you're an artist and if you make, I don't know, 3D wallpapers or 2D wallpapers, or if you're a photographer, you should be able in theory to make a wallpaper utility, make it available on the App Store and get paid for it. Right? So I think they
feels like the perfect subscription app.
Yes. Too. Like I was thinking about this, like imagine like you subscribe like $1 a month and you get a new wallpaper pack each month. Like that would be amazing. And so I think they should do this. They should absolutely do this. They should let creators monetize this all this stuff. Like let me pay for good quality, original and properly attributed wallpapers. And they also should restore the shortcuts integration that was awesome last year and then it disappeared. Nobody knows why. I know that a bunch of people they still have their shortcuts with the set wallpaper action from last year's beta, and now of course the action in iOS 13.4 says, and in 13.3 for that matter, it says action not available. And people, whenever a new beta comes out, they open that shortcut and they check if the action has been restored. I know that people on Reddit do this. It's sort of become like a meme. Every time there's a new beta, people are like, yeah, no set wallpaper action yet. But they should do this. They should do this. They should make it come back and have it be integrated with this system stuff.
I think that this is one of those features that really on the face of it seems, relatively simple, but I think is something that a lot of users would want. Like, it feels like a thing that people will get and they'll be like, oh yeah, this is great. Like, I want this. And I think one of the reasons it maybe makes a little bit more sense than sticker packs is everybody needs a wallpaper. Like, you have to have one. So like there is an inbuilt desire for people to be like, I don't know what I want, or like I want this picture of my family or whatever. But wouldn't it be even nicer if you could have multiple pictures of your family that scrolled through? Like that's kind of what I want, right? So like I want my lock screen to be like a bunch of pictures of family stuff or memories, right? And they just scroll through. So I have to just choose one. I can have a bunch. And like I talk about this a lot. I know I talk about this a lot, but it's a feature I've come to really love about my Echo Show, that I can just have those photos cycling through all the time. And it's nice whenever I'm in the kitchen and I see it. Like, and me and Adina were talking about this today because I told her about this feature. And she was just like, oh, I feel like when I was younger and I'd hear about digital photo frames, I thought they were stupid, and I also did. But she says, "Oh, but I suppose it's now because I've taken way more pictures that I would like this kind of feature." But as I said to her, which is what I think it is for both of us, we're getting older and we're getting more nostalgic for things that we love in our lives or nice experiences, so we enjoy looking at photos more. I think it's more that than like the technology's gotten better, because I think that's what it is about myself, where like I now look back at moments in my life and look at them more fondly, because I think that's just something that happens to you as you get older. But I think it'd be a great feature.
I know that probably some people will not like this, but I'm going to say if they are doing this and they are opening up the App Store to wallpaper utilities, if they want to combat the potential, piracy aspect, they should make these wallpapers a custom format that is not like a JPEG that you can extract and share with people. And if they're the custom format, not only for that, but in a way that allows wallpapers to support both light mode and dark mode. Because right now the default Apple wallpapers, they support that. I believe that's possible.
Interesting.
Thanks to the HEIF file format.
That's how they do it on the Mac too. The default like wallpaper on Catalina is actually like 6 or 7 images that it moves throughout the day.
Right. And they should do the same. They should do the same on iOS. And on iOS, of course, you wouldn't be able to get to those files anyway because of sandboxing.
Right.
So they should do that and allow like super easy in Xcode. Like even if you're not a developer, just with sticker packs before, right? You could use JPEGs or PNGs or animated PNGs, and in this case, if you go with that approach, you could say this wallpaper, it switches automatically between light mode and dark mode. So that would be nice.
I do wonder what else they could do with this. I think the light and dark mode thing is a super smart idea, and I think being able to rotate through a gallery is a super smart idea. Again, things you can do on the Mac, things you can do on other platforms. But I would like to see them explore more with live photos. I mean, so you can set live photos as a wallpaper now. I don't know. I haven't done it, but you can do it and you can set your own. But I think it would be cool if that format could also be smarter. For a long time, they've had the wallpaper that has like the circles and they kind of move around, and I don't think that responds to like the accelerometer or anything in the phone. Maybe it does a little bit, but like what if live photos or something else like that could make these more like interactive or lively in a way, just like subtle animations that looped, or something just to bring it to life a little bit more. I think could be a fun way for creators to explore and create new things.
And while we're on it, if these are built into applications, could things that I do in my life or with my phone change the wallpaper?
Ooh.
Like if I leave my house, could I have a different wallpaper? That kind of stuff.
Or it starts like red, and then as you get more tasks done, it slowly turns green. That'd be fun.
I would genuinely like something like that, right? So yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that kind of stuff could be a lot of fun. Like maybe you could have a wallpaper that has a little colored ring around the edge, and that changes throughout the day, or something. Like if it was tied to applications, and applications could change the wallpaper based on different parameters, which doesn't seem outside of possibility. Like that could be kind of nice.
Or they could even tie it into the memories thing, right? So like we all get those notifications of, hey, you went to this party 2 years ago. Here are a bunch of pictures. Make those a wallpaper. Where if it's my anniversary, every time I pick my phone up, I want a different picture of my spouse. Like there's so much they could do to make this more interesting and more personalized. I'm excited about the possibilities.
Who'd have thought?
You're on the 14th version of it. You got to do something. And this seems like a fun way to extend what you're doing elsewhere.
Yep.
Man, sticker packs. That could have been a thing.
I mean, I use sticker packs every single day, but I just use one of them.
The same one.
Right.
The same one that I didn't pay for.
Like Steven with the skeleton one.
Yeah, I mean, they come out every now and then, but it just wasn't the artistic magic bullet that people were hoping for.
Remember when we used to have in our newsletter the sticker pack section?
Yeah.
Oh, what, the John Voorhees series of sadness that it became?
And John was increasingly losing his mind covering those.
It was good to watch his mental state deteriorate through the sticker packs that he was picking.
This sticker pack is called Desperation.
Yeah.
No, toward the end of the section, he would say something like, "I'm not sure why I'm picking this sticker pack, but here we are."
I'm being forced against my will to look at sticker packs.
Yeah, that section is no more.
Maybe he'll become the wallpaper expert.
Maybe we should do the wallpaper corner of the newsletter.
Sorry, John.
I mean, honestly, when we were talking, I thought if it's easy to do, I would put one out of all my like Apple hardware photos that I've taken over the years.
Oh my God, yes. Like all the iMac, you could just do an iMac pack.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Maybe we should do what all the developers are doing these days, launching a Kickstarter for Steven to make an app that's only a wallpaper app. And you're going to ask people for money to do
Is that a thing people are doing now?
Well, some developers are.
I'm going to need $80,000.
Wow.
Exactly.
That was unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, he needs emotional support through all this, right?
I got to buy a more powerful Mac Pro for development.
And a new camera, to take the pictures.
And all new iMacs.
Oh.
And a developer license,
Yeah.
And that adds up.
WWDC ticket, right? Any day now, right?
Yep. And there's the pain and suffering of using Xcode. That's worth something. That adds up. That's what I'm saying. All right. This episode of Connected is also brought to you by Indeed. When you start the hiring process, you have a lot of questions. Where are you going to get good applicants to choose from? How can you narrow down applicants by education and experience? And how will you know you've made the right hire? Indeed is here to help. There are millions of great candidates that use Indeed every day to find their next opportunity. If you're hiring, you can post a job in minutes and use screener questions to help you quickly create a short list of applicants. Plus, you can add a skills test to your job posts so you can be confident in your applicant's abilities. Their library of more than 50 skill tests range from industry-specific skills like accounting to general aptitude tests like critical thinking. Indeed gives you the smart tools to make hiring decisions quickly and the confidence that you're making the right hire for your team. Post your job today at Indeed.com/connected and get a free sponsored job upgrade with your first posting at Indeed.com/connected. Term and conditions and exclusions apply. This offer is valid through March 31st, 2020. Our thanks to Indeed for the support of this show and Relay FM.
So any version of iOS will naturally have in it references to the hardware that it's going to be running on, right? So if you're imagining a version of iOS 14, it's going to have references to hardware that will be out by the time that iOS 14 is out, in theory. which is why we have a bunch of little details about hardware that we're expecting that came out as part of this selection of leaks and stories. So I guess we should start with the iPad Pro. So it includes what we think, the wide angle, like a new camera unit, which includes a wide angle lens, an ultra wide lens, and a telephoto. So just like the current iPhone Pro. But also the time of flight sensor, which we've been hearing about for a while, which we know by now will be useful for AR app stuff. And there was another leak which referenced a new AR project in the works from Apple. It is an application that you will use to help you get information about things that are out in the world. So apparently they're testing this out in Apple stores and Starbucks right now. So inside of a store, you would open the app on your phone, hold it up to products, and you'd be able to get info about these products. This would work via maybe QR codes, Bluetooth, and what is that? What is that technology that they made?
iBeacons?
Can you help me?
iBeacons.
iBeacons, yeah. So it could be a combination of all of this stuff. It's in testing right now and there's been in development in these two locations, right? So Apple stores and Starbucks, but there would be a third-party SDK, so other companies would be able to use it. This is the dream, right, of being able to hold up your phone to stuff and it could point things to you, show you where they are. Clearly, all of this is in preparation for AR glasses, but Apple is approaching that product in, I think, the right way. So if you're good, is to try and, whenever they do launch this product, already have an ecosystem underpinning it, right? We've been talking about this for a while, but this is definitely one of these things, right? Not just mapping the world, but mapping the things inside of buildings. That's what's going to be really useful if we are in this AR glasses future. So this iPad Pro references the time of flight sensor, which would be important for the development of stuff like this. Obviously, that app will run on all iOS devices when you would assume that a time of flight sensor will be in the next round of iPhones. We can come back to all these things if you guys have stuff to say, but I'll just run through the other two products that are mentioned. iPhone 9, so this is the iPhone SE2, effectively, which was probably going to be replacing the iPhone 8 in size. So to make this more confusing, the iPhone 6 design language will feature
Never dies.
Touch ID with Express Transit support. So Express Transit support is that thing where you can just hold your Apple Pay device up to, say, the London Underground, and you don't have to do any authentication when you're boarding the trains. It just accepts it very fast. I think this works in the New York subway. I think it's in Japanese metro as well. I think it started in Japan, I believe was the first place that it was used. But this is like a long-term follow-up. I absolutely love this feature. It's so fantastic. It's so fast. You don't have to wait. You just hold it up and it just immediately authenticates. It's taken away my biggest frustration with Face ID, which was that it took too long to authenticate in these purchases, like Apple Pay. But really, the only problem for me was trying to get through barriers at train stations, and I don't need to use Face ID anymore. So that's great. So they're adding this support into the iPhone 9 with Touch ID. But they're not really doing much more to the design of the phone. It's going to be the phone for people that don't want to let go of Touch ID. Side note, I bet lots of people in the world are getting frustrated with their iPhones when they're wearing face masks.
Yeah.
Right? What a terrible time for face authentication. And then the other thing is an Apple TV, new hardware of some description with references to a new remote of some kind. Don't get too excited. Ooh. This might not be much more than some small changes. I saw Benjamin Mayo reference on Twitter that this has happened before, but if you remember, they just put a white ring around one of the buttons.
Oh, yeah.
So like a new remote doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the remote of your dreams. It might just mean a change of some kind to the Apple TV remote hardware that we're used to.
Insert the Michael Scott no gif here.
Oh, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
What if the one thing they change in the Siri remote is the whole remote? Think about that. That's Galaxy Brain level stuff.
They only change one thing, but it's everything. Yeah, that'd be nice, but...
That does sound like an Apple tagline. The one thing we changed in the new iPhone is everything.
My biggest problem with the Apple TV remote is its inconsistency. It's not the functions, it's the inconsistency. Like, we're rewatching Patriot on Amazon Prime, which is a fantastic television show if you've never seen it. Like, so good.
Very good.
And, like something happens and I want to go back and I click the side of the remote and just nothing happens. Like, it just brings up the little scrubber, but it won't go back 10 seconds. It's like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. I'm giving you what you want. That's my biggest frustration with the Apple TV remote, is what I find like inconsistency so often with trying to get it to do the functions that it's supposed to do. But yeah, so that's some hardware referenced in iOS 14.
Okay. That all sounds, I think, basically in line with what we've heard elsewhere, except maybe the fully fixed, completely new Apple TV remote.
Brand new, full of hardware buttons remote that you want.
Yeah, just buttons everywhere.
Just like it's just all buttons. Are you getting it yet? It's all buttons.
It's all buttons. It's not one remote. It's 4 remotes, 1 button each.
And we've just taped them together.
One just has the menu button. If you lose that, you can't go back. Too bad. I am increasingly interested about this iPhone 9. I'm sticking by that as the name, which we talked about a long time ago. There are so many people out there with an iPhone 6, 6S, or 7 that Apple wants to move forward. And those people don't want a phone that's bigger. They don't want Face ID. They don't want to learn something new. And an iPhone 9, the iPhone 8 body with the 11 guts, I think would meet their needs really well. I've got one of these people in my marriage who's using an iPhone 8 and wants a better camera but doesn't want Face ID. I won't say who.
One of these people in my marriage. That's an interesting.
It's not me.
It's not you. Who knows who it could be?
I think this will do well, just like the SE did well.
Yeah,
and, people liked the size and it brought forward what was good, but partnered it with good, modern tech. So I think the 9 could do really well, especially if it comes in at $400 or something. Comes in cheaper because they're using that old design. They don't have the most expensive parts in it. I think that it could be a good deal for those people. Look, there are a lot of iPhone 6S and 7s running around still. Like, they're just everywhere. And I think Apple wants to get those people to
Real-time follow-up from Zach in the chat room.
Real-time follow-up.
The tagline for the iPhone 6S was, "The only thing that's changed is everything."
Oh, that's where I saw it before.
Oh, boy.
I wanted to say something about AR.
Uh-oh.
Not necessarily about the iPad Pro, because, sure, give me a new iPad Pro, but you mentioned, like, we could follow up on that stuff. I am increasingly skeptical of these potential use cases for augmented reality. I believe that for certain scenarios, like following directions, so like I'm in a new city and I need to understand where to go, like having the maps overlay on top of the camera, that would be super amazing. I believe Google Maps is already doing this on certain phones. So that's incredible. Following directions indoors, like also that would be cool, like in airports, or like if you're looking for a specific store, or if you're a supermarket, you're looking for a specific shelf. Like, yes, I believe that's the way that it should go. Like all these other things, like in this example, I'm at the Apple Store and I'm at the table with the iPads, and I need to like get my phone and point at the iPad to understand what I'm looking at. Why not just touch it or ask somebody for additional information? So like it just feels like if you're there and if the iPad is in front of you, why should you grab your phone and point the camera at it? You're looking at it already. And it's very likely that there's like an info pamphlet next to it, or like an employee. Just ask the person like, hey, how much RAM is in? They're not going to tell you, but at least you can ask a question. Like,
wait, does that come up a lot in the supermarket? How much RAM is in these potatoes?
No, and exactly, I was going to mention the supermarket. Like, and I see this like these concepts, right, all the time, or like these fake AR apps. It's like, oh, imagine this: you're at the supermarket and you finally found the shelf that contains all the cereal options. Okay, fine, that's cool. And then you grab the box and you point your phone at it, and you get all these overlays telling you the nutritional data for the cereal. I mean, dude, you're holding the cereal box. There is literally a nutritional label on the cereal box. Look at it with your eyes. Why do you have to use your phone and AR to understand how much protein you got in your cereal? Like,
oh man,
like all these additional like I get it. It's fancy, right? It's incredible. It makes for a good demo. It makes for a good portfolio type of video. But like in real life, do you really want to depend on AR to replace your eyes when you got your eyes already and you can just look at things in real life and there's no latency, right? Your eyes, your physical eyes have no latency. You're looking at a box. The box has the info that you need. And sure, maybe the AR utility can make a bunch of additional connections for you because it's connected to the internet. So like you can know that specific cereal comes from Brazil and Brazil is well known for the carnival. Okay, sure. You got all that information from Wikipedia, but I'm also buying a cereal box.
You see, Federico, I think the thing is you clearly don't mind talking to people.
No, it's not that, because the cereal example, I'm just holding a box and I'm looking at it.
I think that there are...
But like, yes, do we really want technology to help us be more isolated and not talk to people? Is that really the goal?
Right, well, that's it, isn't it? It's like, it depends on where you're coming from this. Because, okay, so like, let's imagine one use case for this is like, now you're in a store, you can be like, where's the bread? Right? And it can take you to the bread. It's like, okay.
And that's fine.
But here's the thing. That's useful, but it does also stop you from saying, hey, shop assistant, where's the bread? And depending on your outlook in life, you either see that as good, basically you see that as utopian or dystopian. Like, that's your outlook in life. I agree with you that like all of these things are inherently designed in a way that would isolate us from other people, but I think it is everybody's own decision on whether they want that. I can't tell you what the right thing to do is. Like, I don't know what the right option is, but it does come back to this conversation we have had with an increasing frequency and will continue to have as to whether AR is good or bad, like AR glasses are good or bad, because there are, I think, very legitimate arguments on both sides, arguments that we did not consider with smartphones, right? Like, we just let that happen and it's been good, but it's also been really bad in certain ways, right? It's like smartphones, best thing to happen in technology. Also one of the worst things to happen in social interactions, right? And the way that information is spread, like things that we could not have imagined when smartphones became popular. I hope that there is a little bit more thought around AR in our faces and how that could impact society before we all just adopt it, because I don't think we had that caution with smartphones.
Yeah, and I'm afraid that as soon as we're gonna see like all the the bells and whistles and like the fancy stuff, oh, this is incredible, we're just gonna go for it because it's new, because it's...
So here's the thing, I think that we will be excited about it like we are all technology, but we are having, I mean, we speak for the three of us at least, we are having this conversation now, right? These conversations, which is has a little bit more trepidation to it. I know I didn't feel this way before the iPhone. Like when the iPhone was rumored, it was like, come on, gimme. It wasn't like, what is this going to do for the fate of humankind? Right? We're not having those conversations. But we maybe are a little bit more about AR.
Oh, I have some real-time follow-up.
Okay.
Apple has closed all retail stores in Italy. Yeah.
Ooh.
All of them. Used to be 3 of them. Now it's all of them. So,
but WWDC is still happening.
Yeah, I mean, how is it possible that there's still no announcement?
They're just not ready. Like, everything's taken care of, right? Like, there are good social reasons to explain it. Santa Clara County has made it illegal if they even wanted to do it.
Exactly.
Everything is lining up the way that it needs to. They just haven't yet. They just haven't yet announced what they're going to do. Like, there is literally zero doubt in my mind about what's happening with WWDC. It is not happening.
Yeah.
It is not a case now of if they're going to cancel it. It's just when and how they're going to cancel the in-person event. But Apple just haven't done it yet, right? Because it is a difficult thing, and they maybe are waiting until like they have a bit of space. Because everyone knew E3 was going to get cancelled. It got cancelled today. So I guess it's kind of just a case of like giving them the space that they want. and about when they do it. Do they do it at the end of the week because they consider it bad news? Or do they do it in the middle of a week or at the start of a week because they want to dress it up as good news? Like, it's a big marketing thing for them and how they're going to handle this, but we'll see. But there is no question, right? Like, if you out there, listener, is still wondering if WWDC is going to happen, Myke Hurley is telling you right now it won't, right? Like,
It's
I will
not
put
happening.
money on this. They are not doing it. They're not doing it.
No, they're not doing it.
No, they cannot do it anymore. Like, everything else is
They
cancelled.
can't do it. It's irresponsible to do it. You can't, at this point, when today the World Health Organization has classified coronavirus as a pandemic, you can't be like,
Yeah.
ignore that.
Yeah, let's just gather like 5,000 people and talk
But
about.
like the government that
iOS?
the government of their county has said it is illegal, so like they can't do it. They're not allowed anymore. But yeah, they just haven't announced it. So like
It's not even their choice anymore. Like they just
Mm-hmm.
have to cancel it.
I think that had a date range on it, but
yeah, but that date range will keep getting pushed, though, right? Like it will keep being like nudged along until this virus is under control, but which it is not right now.
all right, let's talk about HomeKit. Let's cheer people up with HomeKit. Also in a 9 to 5 Max reporting, talking about some new features coming in HomeKit with iOS 14. One feature being night shift for lights, so HomeKit could automatically adjust the light color temperature in a room throughout the day. So the Hue light bulbs I have on the lamps on my desk, I can set the color temperature. I have them set to daylight most of the time. But I could, with iOS 14, I guess, tell it, hey, warm those lights up as I edit in Logic into the evenings, which is a thing that I do sometimes. Also in this report,
Real-time follow-up, NAB just got cancelled.
Okay. That's another one.
Just wanted to, it's not important, but I just wanted to throw that out there. It's all getting cancelled.
like 2 days ago, they were like, come on down to NAB. We were talking about iMessage, like, what are you doing?
I got an email about it today. So, right? That like Podcast Movement is doing an NAB thing, and they emailed me today to try and get me to go. Like, no, you know where I'm definitely not going to go right now? Las Vegas. Right? Like, of all the places.
You could get a pandemic in Las Vegas any
Any day of
time.
the week.
Anyways, HomeKit Secure Video is supposed to get people or like facial recognition. So it could send notifications if a stranger comes to your door, but when your kid comes home, not send you a notification or vice versa or whatever. I would say that HomeKit Secure Video should work in the first place before they start adding features, but that's just me. And lastly, HomePod and Apple TV. A lot of people use HomePods for the audio output for their Apple TVs, including you, Myke, right?
Every single day. And every single day, it drives me absolutely mad that I have to toggle the settings.
So it seems like they could maybe fix that in iOS 14, that a user could permanently select HomePod's stereo pairs
I will just
as
say,
the default
I
audio
genuinely
output.
think this is the very best use of a HomePod pair, is to use them with Apple TV speakers. They are very good TV speakers, like really good. There's no latency problems because it buffers the content for a few seconds before it begins. So you just press play, just a couple of seconds, and it starts. And, it can get out of sync, and that's when you have to do the switching around or whatever, and that's really frustrating. But like a little improvement here or there to this function would be great for me, because this is our major use of HomePods at home, more than music, because we watch TV content every day. We don't listen to music at home every day. And I genuinely really love it because it gives you a sense of multi, like not like surround sound, but more than just stereo, right? Because there is like placement. It feels really good sometimes, right? Sometimes it feels like things are not just to the left, but to the left and behind, because it's doing whatever it's doing to try and do that full room sound stuff. So yeah, really, like, it's a very good feature, and I'm happy to see that they're going to put some additional work into this.
And Zach points out in his article that he thinks this would be a good opportunity for smaller, less expensive HomePods. So you don't have a $600 speaker set hooked up to your TV, which would be cool. So, I think all this makes sense. I again, just like HomeKit Secure Video, I want to use it. It's not good enough, not anywhere near enough. So hopefully there's more to this than just adding additional features on. But HomeKit's one of those things too that I mean, it's one thing, I understand that we're going to get messages upgrades with iOS 14, but it feels like HomeKit is big enough where they could roll these updates out separate from a big iOS version. And maybe they need it for the marketing reasons, but like, why can't we just do this in 13.4? Like, HomeKit should be getting better all the time, not just once a year. 9to5Mac today reported the inclusion of a new international Apple Watch face that sets your country's flag as the background of your watch. That's cool. If you're super into your country, you can do that.
But you could just, if you were that into your country that you wanted this as a watch face, you could just set it as a photo watch face.
Look, Casey's going to run the beta just for this, so
to get the USA flag.
Let him have his moment.
Okay.
I mean, there's still a whole other conversation to be had that like all watch faces should be more flexible and more customizable. I assume this one will follow like a lot of the image-based ones where maybe you get one or two complications. I still do wish for a better, more flexible watch face system, or heaven forbid, third-party watch faces. But I don't think that's happening this year. Maybe one day.
Yeah, it's not going to happen because that's definitely something we would have heard about, right? Like there are going to be other watch faces. Like apparently there's like an Infograph Pro watch face coming, right? And some stuff about like sharing watch faces and all that kind of stuff. I don't really get the country flag one personally. Like it just doesn't really make any sense to me. Friend of the show, Kyle's the Grey, was talking about like the Olympics, but this would already like the Olympics would have okay. If the Olympics are going to happen at the time,
are there going to be the Olympics?
I mean, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because like the Olympics are supposed to happen beginning in July. So who knows, right? Like it might be okay then, probably won't be. But they'll move it. I don't know what they're going to do. But in theory, this would make sense for the Olympics. iOS 14 would be too late for the Olympics, but maybe this would ship before, or maybe it's got nothing to do with the Olympics at all.
Well, if you want to find links to the stories we spoke about, head on over to the website, relay.fm/connected/285. While you're there, you can email us with feedback or follow-up, or you can become a member to support the show directly. You can also find us all on Twitter. You can find Myke there as IMYKE. Myke is the host of a bunch of other shows here on Relay FM, including his newest show, The Test Drivers, with Austin Evans, which you should go check out.
Thank you.
You can find Federico on Twitter as Viticci, Viticci, and he is the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net, home of the best iOS sticker pack coverage on the web.
Maybe years ago.
You can find me online as ISMH and my writing at 512pixels.net. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Pingdom, Direct Mail, and Indeed. And until next time, gentlemen, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Adios.